The Yankees have taken the field as we take a look at the Oakland A's lineup.
And they've made a change. They put signs in the 4 spot. That's the one change that he has made to try to get a little more offense here. And Jason Giambi has actually struggled this series. He's had some pretty good pitches to hit last night against El Duque, and he did not hit them, although he had a couple of bases on balls. But they've not hit well with runners in scoring position.
And a look at the Yankees defense as Roger Clemens trots to the mound.
Well, this has been a real strong point for the Yankees here in this series. Justice made a great play last night. So made a great play. Jeter and everyone else has been very solid. So this has been a good, solid Yankee defense. And that's the reason that they're ahead 2-1. And you see what Soho has done. Only 1 error in his 26 games at second base. And Roger Clemens he's working on 3 days rest. He has not done this in 7 years. August 31st, 1993 to be exact. So in that ball game, he gave up 6 earned runs in 6 innings. So this is something unusual for Roger, but he says he feels good and he prepared for this, and we'll see how long he's able to go. And Roger always tries to bring that Yankee mystique into the ball game with him, and he goes and he touches the monument of one of the great Yankee pitchers of all time. That's Babe Ruth. We know him as a hitter, but he was also a good pitcher, and Roger kind of touches that and brings that good luck to the mound with him, Skip.
Or at least he hopes to.
Yes.
As we get ready to go here, Mike Witters is making the calls behind the plate as you see the rest of the umpiring crew. Great umpiring here last night, we thought, and we expect more with Mike Witters. He's an excellent arbiter. So it's pretty simple. The Yankees win, they stay home and wait for Seattle. If they lose, they got to fly all the way back to Oakland for Game 5. And Art Howe was saying, and I think he's right, if there's a Game 5, perhaps then the age of the Yankees as compared to the youth of the Oakland team could have a little bit of a bearing on things.
And there's no doubt that, young guys, their body rejuvenate quicker than the older guys, but I don't think you better count on that. One game, one day, I think everyone will play it just the same way if it goes to Game 5. It can be difficult for both teams.
St. Louis eliminated Atlanta today, 3 straight, 7-1 the final score. And in the 9th inning, the Giants and the Mets are tied 2-2 across town here. And we're about ready to go as Clemens completes his warm-up tosses. It's a cool night in New York, but not a bad one at all. Yankees have really played outstanding defense in this series. Oakland has not. I think that's been the difference to this point. Throw goes to second, and we're ready to go. And Terrence Long gets ready to lead it off. I didn't give you a nickel for his chances when he was carried off the field last night.
You're right. I mean, it's looked like it could be very serious. He chased this ball. Luis Sojo gets single in the center field, and he comes up wanting to throw to the plate. Now his left foot slips from under him. According to the newspaper and reports, he sprained his left knee, and you can see right there is why you don't think he has a chance to play today. They had to pretty much cart him off the field. He could not put any pressure on his left leg, but he just seems to be moving pretty good. I was watching him today in warm-ups. He looks like he's moving around okay, but you'll never know until he has to sprint someplace.
He has a home run in the series. He got it last night, and Clemens is ready to go to work, and Game 4 is about to get underway. Here we go. A little bit high. 1 ball, no strike.
If you're the A's, you have to go into this game thinking we need to score 5 runs or more. We cannot continue to put all this pressure on our pitching staff here at Yankee Stadium. We need to score some runs tonight.
High and away, 2-0.
Well, Roger didn't think that was high.
Yeah, he didn't like that call.
And that's one thing that happens sometimes with Roger. He gets a little frustrated, with the umpires behind the plate, and it sometimes affects his pitching, I believe.
Outside, 3-0.
You made a point yesterday that, the first inning of the pitchers are doing that. They're trying to find the umpire's strike zone.
Boy, if you don't give him the outside corner and you don't give him the inside corner, that makes it a long night for the pitcher. Runner at first to start the game. But all the pitchers really ask for is consistency.
Right.
And the hitters too. Once you figure that strike zone out, you want it to be the same in the first inning as it is in the 8th.
And the one thing you have to realize if you're Roger Clemens, I must throw strikes because I'm working on short rest. How long am I going to be able to go with my best stuff anyway? So every extra pitch he has to throw could have a bearing later in this ball game.
Randy Velarde stands in. There's a strike.
But that's the one good thing that the A's do. They will make you throw strikes. They will be patient at the plate. They make you, throw strikes and go deep into the count. In fact, per at bat, they saw more pitches per at bat than any other team in baseball.
That's surprising for a young team, I think.
Exactly. It is surprising.
Right through that. So 4 straight balls to the leadoff man. He's ahead of 0-2 on the number 2 hitter. They're still filing into Yankee Stadium. Broken bat Tapper. Brocious out there. That's all they can get.
Nice play by Brocious because charging like that off balance, a lot of times you'll take that play and go to first base, which would allow the runner to go into scoring position. But watch, he makes this play off balance.
This is not what Long needed.
No, but he's charging. Now look at this. He's running toward first, but he throws underhand. That's a very difficult throw to be accurate with. And Luis Sojo's about to throw the first, but he realizes he can't make the play standing there in the bag like that because Long is on top of him.
And
so
Long,
they got one, which is the main thing to do.
Excuse me, Joe. Long was a little bit gimpy heading toward the dugout. Runner at first, 1 out for Jason Giambi. He's 3 for 8 in the series, but he hasn't shown any power yet.
And he had some good pitches to hit last night against El Duque, and he fouled them back. He was not happy with himself, so we'll see how he responds today. If you get good pitches to hit and you're a good hitter, you have to hit them.
And away, 1 ball, no strikes.
And he is definitely a good hitter.
Runner at first, 1 down. Two balls, no strikes.
And the one thing you can't do if you're Roger Clemens is pitch from behind because it takes away his most effective pitch, and that is that splitter. So what he has to do is throw fastballs 2-0, and if these hitters can sit there and sit on a fastball, they can hit you. So you have to try to get ahead and get them to chase some pitches out of the strike zone. So far, he hasn't done that.
There's a strike on the outside edge, 2-1. Well, we've been saying this in all 3 games that we've worked, Joe. This is a perfect hit-and-run spot, but
you're right, but that's not the way the A's play. They try to get a lot of bases on balls. They try to get a lot of base runners. They want a high on-base percentage, and then they want to hit the home run.
And they got here their way, so they should stay with it.
And this is the A's, in my opinion, the only team that this has worked for this year. I mean, they've been very successful doing that. It's not really the way you build your ball club normally, but they've been able to do that. Only 40 stolen bases during the regular season. You see that they do walk a lot, second most in the American League and Major League with 750.
3-1 pitch. All 4. Clemens in early trouble.
And the fact that they do not have a lot of speed and they do these things is not by design. It's something that Billy Beane told us in Oakland. He said we can't afford a lot of the other things that other teams spend money on, so therefore we just build our team this way. And he believes in on-base percentage and the long ball.
Olmedo signs the batter. He's the designated hitter today.
Who was that? Greg Maddox say chicks dig the long ball?
Yeah, that's right.
And the A's dig the long ball.
Well hit. Speak of the long ball. There it is, and it's 3-0, just like that. There's your 3-run homer. And a murmur of distress runs through Yankee Stadium. Boy, there was nothing doubtful about that. He hit the daylight out.
And the point is, Roger was getting behind hitters, so he's going to have to come fastball. signs was sitting there looking dead red, and he puts a charge into one. But Art Howe told us before the ball game, he said, that's why we're putting signs in the 4 spot. He can hit. And that's a fastball pretty much in the middle of the plate, moving in and up a little bit, and he hits a bullet out of here. And that's the move that has worked for Art Howe, just like the move that Joe Torre made in the second game to get them a victory. That move there, putting signs in the second, fourth position, has really paid off so far.
Eric Chavez is the batter. An early 3-0 lead for Oakland. Ball will let do them some good.
I mean, look at this inning. 2 bases on balls and a long home run. That's the A's brand of baseball. That's the way they play.
Okay, so they shouldn't have run on the 2-1.
No, you're right.
I get it.
You're right. It's hard for me and you to understand that, but it works, right?
That's right. Whatever works. 0-2 the count.
And the second thing here is that the most important thing, you're giving Barry Zito a lead when he walks out there to the mound. He has some margin for error. He has some time to get his feet on the ground here in Yankee Stadium.
0-2 the count.
And there you see the young left-hander, and he threw well in his one start here at Yankee Stadium, so he says it was good for him to get a chance to pitch in Yankee Stadium and get used to the hostile crowd here.
That should be easy. 2 out. The crowd is pretty much taken out of this thing for the moment. They'll be back, of course, but right now they're pondering that 3-run blast.
And Skip, if you're a Yankee fan or you're a Yankee, someone who's followed the Yankees all year, you had to be a little skeptical anyway with the fact that Roger was going on 3 days rest. You know, and Roger is actually 0-4 in his last 4 starts. He was 0-3 in the regular season, and he lost last Tuesday against Oakland. So he's 0-4, although he had been pitched really well the second half of the season.
Miguel Tejada, the batter, takes a strike on the outside edge. 2 out, nobody aboard, but 3 runs have scored. Oh, and 2. Oh, 2. Didn't miss by much. A ball and 2 strikes. 3-0 Oakland. They've only got 1 hit.
We have not seen the pitch that was so effective for him for the first 5 innings in Oakland. That was the splitter. He has not used that very effectively so far.
1-2 is still the count. .22 pitches already for Clemens.
Normally that wouldn't be a big concern, but working on 3 days rest it is.
He's a big, strong guy, but Father Time has a way of sneaking up on you.
And anytime you're a power pitcher, as Roger is, it takes a little more effort to throw the ball. I mean, he uses legs, he drives. I mean, every pitch he's put tremendous effort behind his pitch.
2 balls, 2 strikes. He started to go. Yes. He went around and the inning is over. Tejada doesn't think so. 3 runs on and just 1 hit. No errors and nobody left. Bottom of the first. Oakland 3. The Yankees come to bed. Okay, a look at the New York Yankees offensive lineup. As you see the capacity crowd. Not many surprises there with Glenn Allen Hill as the designated hitter. You see Soho's good work.
Yep. Soho has driven in 4 runs. And here's the defense. We talked about it yesterday. They make great plays, but they're not a great defense. We saw that yesterday. They will make a lot of great plays behind the pitcher, but they'll also make some mistakes. And you see they made 5 errors in this series and a couple of mental errors. Mental errors hurt you just as much as the physical ones in the short series.
And here's our Valvoline starting pitcher profile on Barry Zito.
Well, in September, he was 5-1, and Tim Hudson won his last 7 starts, and you see that 195 opponent's batting average. That tells you that he has great stuff. And he has 3 good pitches, a good fastball, a great overhand curveball, and he also throws a change. And he says that he can win if he can get 2 of those pitches over. And he said he'll be great if he can get all 3 over. So we'll see what kind of control he has of all 3 pitches.
I don't know who was more complimentary about Zito, Torre or Howe.
You're right.
They both liked him a lot.
Joe Torre was very complimentary. And if you get a left-hander who can throw strikes with good stuff, he will be a winner.
Bottom of the first is underway, and Jeter fouls the first pitch back. He's just 1 out of 12. That's unusual for one of the game's outstanding players.
And that was another point Art Howe made. He said, if you would tell me that Derek Jeter would be 1 for something, David Justice 1 for something, and so forth and so on, he said, I would think we would be ahead.
Base hit to center. That's the way the bottom of the first begins. Jeter has his 2nd hit of the series.
And that was not his good curveball. That was a rolling curveball. He has a good, sharp overhand curveball. That one didn't do very much. Watch, this is his curveball, but this is not the sharp one. See, that one stayed up a little bit, and Jeter was able to hit it back through the middle for a base hit.
This, of course, is Zito's first postseason experience. They have him listed at 6'4", 205. He's every bit of that. A first-round draft choice, the 9th pick in the June '99 draft. He deals a strike to Soho.
The one thing that the Oakland A's pitchers have been able to do this entire series is throw strikes, get out in front of the hitters. They've been able to throw a lot of first-pitch strikes.
1-1 the count. That's not a bad pitch at all.
No, and I think it happened because Jeter faked like he was going, and I think he was just firing his fastball in to give his catcher a target. You give him a good clear shot at second base. Jeter kind of faked him over there at first base just when he started his motion.
2 balls and a strike.
That's the changeup.
Zito out of Las Vegas.
Joe Torre and Art Howe are very similar in the way that they keep themselves composed on the bench. And that's very important, especially in playoff situations, because you kind of take your cue from the manager. If the manager panics or gets overly excited about things, you have a tendency to do the same thing. But both of these guys remain calm under pressure.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Across town, they're playing free baseball in Shea Stadium. It's 2-2.
The one thing you have to do with Soho is keep the ball down. You see, he gets up to that fastball. He's a good high ball hitter. Whether it's an off-speed pitch or a high fastball, he can handle the high pitch. Get the ball down. You need a ground ball here.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at first. No one out. It's 3-0 Oakland. Oh, what a play. Out there. Instead of a base hit up the middle, a 6-4-3.
This is exactly what I say when I think of the Oakland A's. They make a lot of great plays, but they're just not a great defense. They do not make a lot of routine plays, but they will make the great plays. This is just that's a great play. That's a tough hop. He feeds Velarde, and he turns it over. They made the greatest double play that I've ever seen here at Yankee Stadium the last time around, and this one is almost as good. We'll show you the other one later on. It was just a fantastic double play those two players made. But they can make some great plays.
That certainly changes the inning around as Paul O'Neill bats. 2 out, nobody on.
Another first pitch strike. He's had 3 hitters this inning, and he started all 3 of them off with a strike, and that's the key to his success. You know, when you're a left-handed pitcher, being able to throw strikes and get ahead of the hitters.
Jammed him, and it's 0-2. Well, the hits are even at 1, but where it counts, Oakland's put 3 on the board.
And one thing about Zito, left-handed hitters do not fare too well against him. He did not allow a home run to a left-handed hitter in 72 at-bats this year.
And a lot of the Yankee power, of course, is from the left side. O'Neill and Justice.
And Tino Martinez. So
Posada.
And Posada. So that really helps him. You're right.
0-2 the count.
Nasty.
Yeah, a good one, but just a little bit outside. 1-2.
That's the way you want to throw an 0-2 pitch. See if you can get the hitter to chase it. And there you see he's pretty good against everybody. Left-handers 194, right-handers 195, but they did hit 6 home runs. And you see the swing that O'Neill takes there. Couldn't do much with that.
That was not a pretty swing, but he did stay alive.
And the Yankees did not hit the ball sharply last night on a lot of occasions, but they did put the ball in play. The emphasis was that they put the ball in play. They made the A's have to make plays, and they were not able to do it. So you have to give the Yankees credit for that. Not.
There's a great curveball. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, and no one left. An inning has gone by, and Oakland leads 3-0.
NBC's coverage of tonight's division series is brought to you by March 1st. Here's to being first. March 1st, a new world, a new way. www.march1st.com. By MasterCard, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And by the men and women of General Motors, whose commitment to quality brings you outstanding cars and trucks.
Ben Greaves seeks his first postseason hit as we go to the second inning. 3-0 Oakland, our score. And he's got his first postseason hit. Good job by Bernie Williams to hold him to a single.
Well, Roger needs to settle down, and the first game in Oakland, he was spotting his fastball a little better for a first pitch strike. This is supposed to be a fastball away. You see where it is, right in the middle of the plate, about belt high, and he drills it into the right center field. You're correct, a nice play there by Bernie Williams, but the speed of Greaves shows again, because that should have been a long, should have been a double there, but it's a base hit.
Jeremy Giambi, the batter. Runner at first, no one out. One ball, no strikes. Clemens fighting it here in the early going. And if that keeps up, if Roger continues to struggle, fellows like Denny Nagel and David Cohn and Doc Gooden are the guys who could be pitching for the Yankees.
And the one thing that the A's would like to do is get into the Yankee bullpen. Of course, Joe Torre does not want to have to go to the bullpen early.
1-1 the count. Low and away, 2 balls, 1 strike.
And that was actually, I think, the first really good splitter that he threw. But he didn't start it high enough and could not get Giambi to offer at it.
Three and 1. Trouble brewing again for Clemens.
And you see there's Billy Connors. He's calling down to the Yankee bullpen. He wants somebody to get started. No one's moving yet, but maybe there he just finally got Denny Nagel's attention, and he's going to start warming up.
2 on with nobody out. Clemens wanted that one too.
And I expected Nagel to be the logical choice because the A's are basically a left-handed hitting ball club, so you want to bring a left-hander in against this lineup. And Billy Connors is going to go out and talk to Roger. And I think this is more of a stalling tactic than the fact that he detects something in Roger's motion, but got to give Denny Nagel time to warm up.
Ramon Hernandez, who is 4 out of 10 in the series, is going to be the batter. You would figure him to be, well, I don't know.
Well, they were
bunt?
No, they were in this situation. Remember, this is the exact situation with Roger pitching in Game 1 when they were trailing at home. First pitch fastball, he singled to right field. Again, you know, everyone plays the game differently. You know, Art Howe, we'll see what he does here, but I definitely think it's a bunting situation with a left-handed hitting long up in the top of your order coming up next. The one thing you want to make sure you do is stay out of a double play. So a bunt in this situation would work perfectly. That's my opinion.
Yeah, he is going to bunt.
But once we agree.
Good one. Make the third baseman field it. That's all you have to do. 1 out.
Excellent bunt there by Hernandez. And Hernandez had bunted a lot during the season, so he can bunt, and he does get the job done. Look at it. That's perfect. You bunt it down the third base line. You force the third baseman to come in and field it. And that way there's no one to cover third base. Play has to go to first base.
Terrence Long, the batter, he walked his first time.
And the Yankees are going to play the infield in. And I think this tells you how Joe feels about his offense. And he did say a lot about Barry Zito and how good the young pitcher was pitched against him the last time.
Runner coming. Good getting. Got it. First and third, 2 out. Grave tagged out. Soho made the play from second.
And that was a good pitch by Roger Clemens. This is a splitter that goes down, and that's what you want. You want to keep the ball on the infield. You want to get a ground ball. See the target? See that splitter is down. It's actually a bad pitch to swing at on the first pitch if you're the hitter. But you see what Soho really did there. He charged the ball. He didn't wait for it. See how far he is in on the infield grass when he makes the play? That way there's no chance for the runner to score.
And Posada, a good job of blocking the plate. Randy Velarde, the batter. Low and away, 1 ball, no strikes. Two out in the inning now. Velarde hit into a force play his first time. Downstairs. Two balls, no strikes. Clemens continues to struggle. The infield, of course, back now with 2 out in the inning.
Yeah, but this tells you something right here. See how deep they are at second base and shortstop? They cannot get to the bag and cover if they send Long and still be able to cut the run off the plate. The point I'm making is if Long wants to go to second base, he can do so. There's no way that they can throw through in this situation because they're too far from the bag to cover.
There's a strike. It almost hit him. As banged up as Long is, though, I don't know if he's of a mind to...
Well, I will only say this. If you can't play, you shouldn't be playing.
That's right.
This is do or die today. for the A's. This is not a situation where we can worry about if you're okay for tomorrow or the next day. This is do or die right here. And that's one more run that they may be able to score. The point is they're giving it to him, and you can see that.
Didn't mean to. Should be out of the inning. And he is. The A's missed a great chance to score there. We go to the bottom half of the second. Still, A's 3-0. For more baseball postseason information, log on to MSNBCSports.com. You'll find full coverage of both the American and National League Division Series games with player profiles, stats, and daily schedules. MSNBCSports.com, the official website of NBC Sports. And we go to the bottom half of the second inning. Barry Zito will face Bernie Williams.
And this is the way that they want to face Bernie Williams all night, him leading off an inning or hitting with 2 outs. Bernie is the key guy for the A's to stay away from because Bernie is starting to get hot. And when he gets hot, he can actually carry this ball glove on his shoulders. And he's swinging the bat well, and he's more powerful actually from the right-hand side. So you definitely want to try to keep O'Neill and Soho and Jeter off the bases in front of him.
3-0 Oakland, that's our score. One ball, no strikes. Game 5, if necessary, tomorrow. Good pitch.
Well, you see what they're doing. They're not going to let him sit on a dead red fastball and be ready for it. He threw him a miss with the first pitch, came with a change. And that tells you something about this young pitcher, too, being able to do that from behind in the count and not being afraid to throw the changeup.
Zito delivers, popped up foul, and out play it. Every time I mention his name, I get hungry for some pasta.
Lee like the Z stuff, huh?
Yeah, like the city.
And you see Bernie trying to slow Zito down. I mean, Bernie got in the box. Zito started his windup, and he stepped out.
1-2 the count. A little bit low. It's 2-2. Full count. The payoff pitch.
Good.
They didn't miss by much, did he?
Well, it was a good pitch to throw in that situation because, you try to jam Bernie if you're pitching to him right-handed. And this is a tough pitch to take. It looks like a good pitch to me, but it's a tough pitch to take. But you can see the catcher does move his glove back. If the catcher catches and holds it, it looks like a pretty good pitch, but he moved it back. You see him move it back over the plate. So Bernie must have been inside.
David Justice handles left-handers extremely well for the most part.
For the most part, he does. But again, you look at the numbers Barry Zito has put up against left-handed hitters, and you say, well, he's an exceptional left-hander because he has that great curveball.
That'll reach the seats 0-1. Three 3-0 Oakland, our score. We're in the bottom of the second.
Randolph at third base. He's the third base coach. He's rumored to be interviewed for a managing job along with Chris Chambliss, the hitting coach. They were interviewed last year by a few teams, and neither got the job last year, but Joe Torre had a story in the paper today saying he really hopes that someone gives both of them a job this year because he thinks they deserve it. Chris Chambliss.
Strike call. 0-2.
Well, David thought that ball was low. Here's the big curveball we talked about. This is why left-handers do not hit him that well. Starts right at David, and then it breaks. And a sharp breaking curveball. And remember, it's not where the catcher catches it, it's where it crosses the plate. And that was a lot higher when it crossed the plate than it was when Hernandez caught it.
That takes care of justice. One away. I don't know Willie Randolph that well, but I do know Chris Chambliss from his years in Atlanta, and there's no doubt in my mind he would be a fine manager.
Well, he was manager a year in the minor leagues for 2 straight years, so I would think that he knows what he's doing. And will he spend enough time? I think the key is that they both worked under Joe Torre. You learn a lot from, managers who have been successful, and I think that's the key. They've learned a lot being around Joe and being part of his coaching staff. And Joe entrusts him with a lot of the duties here, and I think it's great.
There's going to be some vacancies, that's for sure. There already are. 1 ball, no strikes to count.
One thing the Yankee hitters are going to get through their mind, they're not going to be able to sit dead red on him when he misses with a pitch and just sit there and wait for the fastball. He's going to change speeds, and he's doing that very well right now. And then he comes with the fastball. You look at a changeup and then a good fastball, and it's very difficult to hit. There are 2 ways to keep hitters off balance, because pitching, that's what pitching is, keeping hitters off balance. You can overpower them with 99 miles an hour fastball, or you can change speeds, as Zito's doing, and keep them off balance.
Chase the runner back. 1-2 the count. Runner at first, 1 out. Oakland has a 3-0 lead. Olmedo Signs blasted a wickedly hit home run to left in the first. Hill fouls it back. Glenn Allen Hill digs in there. Nice play by Hernandez on that pitch.
Just to show you how much the A's value Barry Zito. He was their #1 draft choice in 1998. He was the 9th pick overall in the 1999 draft. Now here he is in the year 2000 pitching to keep them alive here in the division series.
And he looks like he's having a good time doing it. Hill is out on strikes.
Well, no one has been able to touch the curveball. And it looks like his curveball starts on one plane. Watch this. It starts outside, and it just seems like it stops right there and starts to bite. And that's tough to do. You give up on it. See where it starts out here? You give up on it, then it starts to bite, and then it's too late. Once it starts to dive, you're in trouble.
He comes almost straight over the top. R.J. Posada stands in there. Runner at first, now 2 outs and 3 strikeouts in the game for Zito. High fly ball left field, but no carry to it. Reed is there.
Hard to get carry on the handle.
Yeah. The inning is over. No hits, no runs, no errors. A runner left after 2. It's 3-0 Oakland. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, NBC brings you the conclusion of the Solheim Cup from Loch Lomond Golf Club in Scotland. Going into the decisive final day, the underdog Europeans lead the U.S. by 5. The Solheim Cup tomorrow at 1 Eastern on NBC. Jason Giambi, the batter. Roger Clemens goes to work. 0-1 the count. Nobody on, no one out. Live fastball, but it missed outside.
Well, Roger's still trying to find his groove where He can groove that outside corner with his fastball, and he did it very well the first few innings in Oakland. He has not been able to get out there consistently today with strikes.
That's a little low. 2 balls, 1 strike. Giambi out of the batter's box for a moment.
That's his brother Jeremy. He's watching him hit. I'm sure he's learned a lot from watching his brother hit. Jason, one of the better hitters in the league.
Upstairs and 3-1.
These are dangerous pitches to power hitters when you're in the middle of the lineup, having to throw them 2-0 or 3-1 fastballs.
He walked it.
And you can see he was trying to be careful. He's trying to hit the outside corner with the fastball, keep him from pulling it, and he misses.
That's 42 pitches, and that's 4 walks already.
He had just walked Giambi in the first inning to put 2 runners on the first pitch. Right there, fastball, and Saenz was waiting for it, and he hit a 3-run homer.
Boy, he got his arms out there in a hurry to hit that ball.
And here he is again, right after walking Giambi. Will he come with another fastball? Yes.
Yep. 0-1 the count. A little bit low, and it's 1-1. Well, Joe, I want to thank, this is my last game. I'd like to thank NBC for giving me a shot to do it. I'd like to thank Bob Costas for being in Sydney, so I got a chance to do it.
Right.
I'd like to thank you for being a tremendous help.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me. I mean, I respect the fact that you've had such a long career that it's like me and an old-time player. I like to be around them. I like to be around guys who've had success in their careers, and you've had a lot of success being in Atlanta 25 years.
Well, I've been there longer than that, but baseball 25.
Well, that says something right there.
And I'd also like to thank the folks at TBS and at WSB Radio in Atlanta for letting me do this. It was extremely kind of them. Now back to the game. 2-2 the count. Rogers steps off. Now he's about ready. Base hit left field for Saenz. First and second with 1 out.
It was interesting when we talked to Art Howe today. He said Saenz can sit on the bench, not play for weeks at a time, and just jump out of bed and start hitting. He said he's that good a hitter. This is a good pitch. This is a splitter down from Roger. Look at the location. Down, and he just reaches out and rakes it into left field for a base hit. The other pitch was a bad pitch from Roger that he hit for the home run. It was up and over the plate in middle end. That was a little splitter down the way, and he just reaches out and rakes it anyway.
So once again, Oakland threatens. They've got 2 on. This is what they play for. The 3-run homer.
Exactly.
Eric Chavez, the batter. He grounded to second his first time.
And there's Denny Nagel up again in the bullpen. It's going to be a difficult decision for Joe Torre when to take Roger out or how long to stay with him, because you cannot afford to let this game get away from you. Yet you do not want to go to the bullpen too early, because then it can really get away from you. And I say that because one of the reasons that Nagel, Cone, and Doc Goodner in the bullpen is because they didn't do as well as he wanted them to do as starters.
1-1 the count. The runners lead away. There's nobody out. That's right in there. 1-2.
And Chavez has to be upset with himself, not the umpire. That was a good pitch from Roger. Chavez looked like he was looking for something away, and Roger nailed the inside corner with a good fastball. He's probably upset that he took that pitch.
Oakland leads by 3, but they blew a great chance to get more in the second. They've got runners at first and second, and nobody out here.
Those last 2 pitches are the best 2 fastballs that he has thrown in this ball game. Not so much just the speed, but the movement. These 2 pitches moved really well. The first one on the inside corner, and then this one to finish off Chavez. Look at that. The ball starts inside corner, just moves back over the plate. Watch, you'll see a little rotation on it going towards the catcher's glove, moving away from the hitter. And it had a lot of movement and a lot of velocity. That was a good pitch.
Tejada, the batter. He was a strikeout victim his first time. Check swing, strike over the inside corner, and all of a sudden Clemens shows signs of putting on a rally here.
You're right. That was a good slider. He seems to be able to throw pitches where he wants now. All of a sudden, those pitches are getting the edges and moving well.
52 pitches, though, and we are in the 3rd inning. A ball and a strike.
One of the things that Tim Hudson and El Duque were able to do last night was stay out of the middle of the plate. They got a lot of pitches on the corners. And that's what Roger needs to do, and that's what he started to do here in the 3rd inning after he allowed 2 runners.
Clemens climbs back up on top of that hill. Now it's Tejada's turn to step out. Fly ball down the right field side, but it is twisting foul. This Tejada is quite a story. As a youngster, a shoeshine boy to help his family survive, and he just signed a 4-year, $12 million contract. Life a little more pleasant for the Tejada family now.
And he's a great kid.
Line foul. I asked a question on the air a few weeks ago about, Haiti is in this same island that the Dominican Republic is. So I wonder why we never hear about any Haitian ball players. And people say the reason is because that was a French protectorate, and they're very much into soccer, not baseball.
Well, you have to play baseball as a kid in order to have a chance to get to the big leagues. There's a lot to learn about this game. I'm glad you asked someone else that question and not me.
The 1-2. Fly ball into left field. David Justice puts it away. 2 out.
Well, Roger is 1 out from getting out of this jam that he created by walking Giambi to start the inning, and then Saenz had a base hit. So he needs 1 more out to weather this storm. And he seems to be starting to throw better. So if he can get out of this inning, maybe you'll see Roger pitch better from this point on.
Grieve got his first hit of the series, his first time, a solid single. 2-1, but now 2 out. 9 away, 1-0. That's a good point you made, Joe. You can't just at age 18 pick up a baseball glove. There's too much to learn.
Too much to learn. That's true. I mean, this is a very complicated game, and you have to do it more instinctively than having time to think about it.
Posada thought about throwing down to second, but thought better of it.
It appeared that there was a play on because Zito started right behind Giambi right away.
Two balls, no strikes. The runners lead.
This is a dangerous pitch for Roger, and that's why he tries to make a good pitch with it, because once you get behind some of these left-handed hitters, 2-0 fastballs are difficult pitches to have to make in Yankee Stadium to a left-handed hitter.
You turn him loose here, 3-0?
That's a good point. I think it's a very good question. I would say normally yes, but Grieve has not been swinging the bat well, but he did hit the ball hard last time. I think you have a 3-0 lead. You play for the 3-run homer. Let him go. You would have let him swing 2-0. Why not 3-0?
Clemens steps off. Grieve steps out.
But you have to know which hitters can hit 3-0 and which hitters are not successful 3-0.
There's a strike over the outside edge. That's a good point. Some guys just can't hit in that spot.
Some guys will swing at any pitch, wherever it is, if you let them swing 3-0. And then there are guys who are patient. He could have had this hit sign there, but Roger made a good pitch. If you're going to hit 3-0, you look for a pitch in a zone, usually middle of the plate in and up a little bit. And Roger made a good pitch over the outside edge.
Hit hard, but foul. And now the count goes to 3-2, and the runners will be on the move. On the payoff pitch to Ben Grieve from Roger Clemens. Yankee fans on their feet again. This will be his 25th pitch of the inning. Strike 3 call. He wriggled off the hook again. Strikeout number 3 for Clemens. We go to the bottom of the third. It's still Oakland 3, the Yankees nothing. We go to the bottom of the third. You see the umpires talking it over there. Look at their fancy new uniforms. They designed those themselves in cooperation with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball actually cooperating with somebody. It's good. So we now call them the men in tow. Here we go to the bottom half of the third inning.
You do have a little Costas in you, huh?
Well, we both hail from St. Louis.
Okay.
Tino Martinez leads it off. And here we go. Tell you what, Joe, the A's have a very comfortable lead, 3-0, but they've had a chance to break this thing wide open in the second and again in the third and couldn't get it done.
And you're right. I mean, you cannot let the Yankees stay in this ball game because they are the home team. And you better put them away as quickly as possible, and they haven't done that. And sometimes there's a flow to a game. Sometimes a 1-0 lead's a big lead. Sometimes a 4-0 lead is not.
No swing there. It's 2 balls and a strike.
The only reason I think that this lead is pretty comparable at this point is because Barry Zito seems to have kept his emotions in check. He seems to be comfortable out there on the Yankee Stadium mound.
Not only that, boy, he's got great stuff.
Definitely. We knew that going in. And he has 3 great pitches. There's one. That fastball is just, I mean, it's hard to hit the fastball. He has a great overhand curveball, and he throws a changeup. He gives you 3 different speeds to have to deal with.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Full count now, 3-2.
And he has pitched in big games before. He pitched, you know, what is big for him. He pitched in the College World Series. A lot of people say, well, that's not an, you know, division series, but it was as big for him then as it is now to pitch in this series.
Up the elevator shaft with that. Who wants at first base? Because Andrew staggers, but makes the catch, 1 away. Martinez is retired.
It's going to be difficult for the left-handed hitters. I'll just tell you that now, just watching him. Because his fastball runs so much, he has such good movement on his fastball, and he has a great overhand curveball. You always have to protect against that curveball, and that lets the fastball get in tight on you before you can get the bat out front. And you will also swing a lot of bad pitches because you're waiting a little longer, and that fastball forces you to chase it.
Scott Brocious, the batter. Takes a strike. Ground ball to short. Tejada up and firing. 2 down. And that's what Zito wants, is guys jumping on a pitch early in the count. Here's Derek Jeter, who singled his first time.
Derek Jeter is the guy, the young player that's come up, and he's been in a lot of postseason games, and he's performed very well. See that 314 postseason average. He has not hit well this series so far, but the longer it goes, I guarantee you, the better he will hit.
1 ball, no strikes. Jeter, in one respect, reminds me of our old friend Pete Rose, Joe, the way he follows the ball into the catcher's glove. A blooper gets in there. A 2-out hit for Jeter.
This is what I was telling you yesterday. Here's a guy, he's going to get hits. I mean, he's a guy that gets hits. It doesn't matter whether he hits it hard or not. He hit a ground ball yesterday in the hole. Tejada normally makes the play. He doesn't make it, so he gets a base hit. Now, Zito makes a good pitch. He jams him. You see that swing. He pulls his arms in just to try to get the ball off him. But what does he do? He gets a base hit. And there are players that do this. It's not that they're lucky. He puts the ball in play, and he makes things happen. I mean, that's just the way that's how it goes when you get 200 hits. All 200 hits that he got were not line drives. And you mentioned Pete Rose. He got 200 hits every year. In fact, Pete called me yesterday, and I was supposed to tell you hello. I forgot. So.
Well, same to him.
All right.
Zito steps back off the line. Zito against Soho.
See the pattern they have with Soho. They want to throw him off speed pitches and make sure they keep the fastball down. That's the way the pattern they want to use against him.
And just so the fans will know, every year we hear about this, that the announcers are rooting for Oakland or the announcers are rooting for the Yankees. The team I was rooting for is no longer in the playoffs.
Well, I just root for a good game when I'm broadcasting the game. I just want it to be just to have a good game.
And if the writers say that we're partial, remember, nobody wraps their garbage in their television set. We'll return to Yankee Stadium after this word from your local NBC station. We go to the fourth inning here. Oakland still enjoying a 3-0 lead. Let's take a look at the pitch counts of both pitchers. That could be significant as this game continues.
Well, Roger with 62, he's struggled a lot more than Zito has.
And here we go. Jeremy Giambi leads it off.
Roger's still seeking his first 1-2-3 inning, and he needs to settle down. He needs to have a 1-2-3 inning just so he can get some confidence. But I tell you what, he was throwing the ball better last inning than I thought he had thrown it the entire ball game. And that pitch right there kind of tells you something. That was a pretty good fastball in the middle of the plate, but it had enough movement on it that Giambi could not handle it.
Nobody on, nobody out. Pop foul back, right below us. I thought you were in the Hall of Fame. I thought you were going to protect me.
Well, I also know enough that ball hurts when it comes back here.
0-2 the count. That should be easy, and it is one away.
Well, they had an opportunity in the second and the third inning to do something with Roger. They did not put him away, and I tell you what, he is throwing the ball better now than at any time in the ball game. He looks like he's settled down, but he has thrown a lot of pitches, so I don't know how long he can go, but he is throwing the ball much better now.
Mike Winters had a few harsh words from the players early in the first inning, but since then he too has settled down and worked a good game. Nobody's complaining lately. Ramon Hernandez is the batter.
All of a sudden, Roger is throwing first pitch strikes, and when he does that, he's usually pretty successful.
A ball and a strike. At the knees, 1-2. A little delay call for Winters that time. Right back where it came from. 2 out. Coming up this weekend,
premiere of must-see TV Thursday, starting with back-to-back Friends, plus Will and Grace, Just Shoot Me, and ER. The premiere of must-see TV Thursday.
right here on NBC. And Terrence Long is the batter with 2 out, no one on.
All of a sudden, Roger Clemens looks like Eddie Feiner, the king of this court. He's just taking care of everybody himself. Again, first pitch strike, and we did not see this happen in the first couple of innings, but he has settled down, and he's throwing the ball well.
In case you joined us late, Olmedo signs at a 3-run homer in the first. He was inserted as the designated hitter, and he paid a big dividend, and that's been all the scoring of the ballgame.
He actually did exactly what a fourth-place hitter is supposed to do, clean the bases.
Clemens ahead in the count.
You often wonder, you say, why wasn't Roger throwing like this at the beginning of the ballgame? Sometimes it takes a pitcher time to get into his rhythm. And Roger, it took him a little time, but he does have better rhythm now. He's throwing the ball better, he's throwing better strikes, and he's throwing strikes with all of his pitches.
And pitchers will still tell you, too, they come out of the bullpen to start a game after having warmed up, and they feel like they've got great stuff. And then they're sitting in the shower after 2/3 of an inning because it didn't work out that way. You just never know. The 2-2. Long is back in there. Tapper past the mound. Ordinarily, that's a very close play, but not now. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. Bottom of the fourth. Oakland leads it 3-zip.
NBC's coverage of tonight's division series is brought to you by the Insider Pizza, new from Pizza Hut, another one of the best pizzas under one roof. By MCI WorldCom, offering great long-distance rates here and around the world. By Claritin brand of loratadine tablets, official sponsor of Major League Baseball. And by Chevrolet. If only everything was as dependable as a Chevy, Chevy will be there.
Bottom half of the fourth inning, heart of the order up there for the Yankees, O'Neill, Williams, and Justice. Barry Zito has pitched a terrific game to this point, and I don't mean to take a thing away from him. The pitch is a strikeout, but I bet he'd be the first to tell you that that 3-run homer in the first made his life a lot easier.
That made his life easier in the fact that he is throwing first pitch strikes to all the hitters. I mean, when you can do that, you know, you're in pretty good shape.
0-1 the count. It's even now, 1-1. O'Neill called out on strikes his first time. Two and 1.
Hitters are always trying to make adjustments to what the pitcher is doing to them. And if you watch O'Neill, he's even turning his front side in a little bit more now than he was before, so he can try to stay in on the curveball and the fastball away. He's almost got his back to the pitcher because he wants to take that pitch over there and go the other way with it. He tried right there, but another good fastball away from Barry Zito.
2 balls, 2 strikes. O'Neill drove in 100 runs in 2000 for that's the 4th straight year he's done that. Bounced up and bit him.
And you see that swing that he has. He's been able to just make contact to stay alive 2 times on that great curveball. He took it for a strike, the 3rd strike in his first at bat. But look at this swing. That's such a good curveball. There's just not a lot you can do. So his curveball gets you 2 ways. One, he gets you with the break because it has such a big break. The other is the speed. It changes speed so well. It's different from his fastball. So he gets you with both the break and the speed.
Grounded foul past first base. Still 2 and 2.
And you see these swings that O'Neill is taking at that curveball. All he's trying to do is stay alive. When you see a good hitter like Paul O'Neill doing that, that tells you how good a curveball he's throwing.
Yeah, that's a great, you're right, that's a great compliment to Zito.
Exactly.
Two and 2 the count.
Yeah, that's the equalizer right there. When he gets you looking for the curveball, he throws that fastball, and you just do not have time to decide whether it's a strike or not.
Strikeout number 4 for the young left-hander.
See how he's locked in? Look at his front. He's trying to just stay in there on the curveball. So what does he do? He throws him a high fastball. So he's trying to stay on the curveball, but you see that ball's by him before he can even swing.
He just beat him fair and square, that at bat.
Yeah, that tells you why left-handers hit 195 against him, not 94, because he's tough on left-handers, and O'Neill and Justice, they handle left-handed pitching pretty well, but this guy's an exceptional left-hander.
Into the dirt, all the way back to the screen. 1 ball, no strikes. 3-0 Oakland, our score. Olmedo signs a 3-run first inning homer. That's been it. Joe Morgan, Skip Carey from Yankee Stadium. Jim Gray on the field. One and 1 the count. Pop foul back. And it's 1-2. Inside. Not by much. 2-2. There's one out here, nobody on. Zito cuts her loose. Line count. Oh, he hit. Good look. Reminds me of Steve Avery.
Right, when he came up. A young Steve Avery, you're exactly right. Steve had that great overhand curveball, good fastball, good changeup. And that's what Barry Zito has.
2-2. Steve had arm surgery. Is trying to resurrect his career, by the way. The 2-2 pitch. Fouled on the third baseline, and it's still 2-2.
And Willie Randolph trying to give the fan the baseball. He finally gets it for his kid. That young fellow will be very happy.
Couldn't get much better than that in New York.
Beautiful. This kid he's on top of his game. I mean, that curveball we haven't seen anyone put it in play. We've seen them foul it, but we have not seen them hit it. And here's another curveball. Bernie Williams is fighting it off. And when you get these good hitters that can't handle that pitch, that tells you that they can't pick up the rotation. Look how tight the rotation is. And then the bottom falls out of it.
Strikeout number 5 for Zito. If this score holds up, it's Gil Heredia against Andy Pettit tomorrow. Out in Oakland. Curve outside, he had Justice Balin.
When this series started, if you're the road team as the Yankees were, you say, well, if we can split there and then get home. Well, now you're the Oakland A's. You say, if we can split there and just get back home, that's all, then you should be happy. So you're in the same situation that the Yankees were in after the Yankees lost Game 1. The only problem is you're facing an elimination game, but it's the same situation. If you win today's ball game, then it shifts back to your place in your favor.
Curveball didn't bite. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Art Howe told me a funny story about Barry Zito. He said he holds the ball so loosely in his hand that he was pitching in Detroit one day, and he threw a pitch, and he threw it all the way up on top of the screen. And he said, "What's that?" And he looked out there, and Barry Zito was laughing. He was laughing at himself, and his next pitch was a curveball for strike 3.
He's like he's a walk in the park. Not nervous at all. If I had his stuff, I wouldn't be either.
No, he's well armed.
Oh, I like that. Well armed. 3 balls and a strike. There's a well-hit ball, but it drops for a hit. And only a single for Justice. I thought he hit the ball harder than that.
Well, he was a little bit out in front. Like I said, one thing Zito is doing, he's not giving in. This pitch here, he takes a little off. Justice gets it out in front, and it falls in front of the right fielder, Jeremy Giambi. Now watch the location. See where the catcher's set up? That ball's going away, and Justice just reaches out there and pulls it. He actually just top hands it because it was an off-speed pitch, and he was out in front. But he was able to get enough of it that he was able to get a base hit down the right field line.
Hits that on the sweet spot. It's out of here, but he hit it right off the end of the bat. Here's Glenn Allen Hill. 1 ball, no strikes.
And no matter how many times you strike Glenn Allen Hill out, he's up there swinging, and he's always dangerous.
The hits are even now at 3 apiece. Oakland has the only 3 runs in the game, and it's 2-0 on Hill. And Posada is next.
And the reason you see Hernandez going out there, this is one of the few tough pitches he's had to throw in this ball game. You're going to have to throw a 2-0 pitch to a good hitter, a guy that can hit the ball out of the ballpark and bring the Yankees within 1 run. So you want to decide, am I going to challenge him with a fastball, or am I going to try to get him out with something off speed?
2 balls, no strikes.
I think with a 3-run lead, you still have to go after him and try to just make him swing it, make him swing the bat. But he throws him a changeup. That's beautiful. I mean, for a kid to be able to do that under this type of pressure, that tells you about his makeup. Another changeup.
3-1.
He can't throw him a changeup here. He may throw him a curveball. You can't throw 3 changeups in a row in this situation. He has to go to fastball. Once you get a guy looking at 2 changeups, you can throw him a fastball.
Sure, the changeups make a good fastball look even
Exactly.
better.
And now you may see him throw him another changeup. You never know what this kid's going to do. There is a changeup.
Still 3-2. Justice, of course, running on the pitch with 2 out.
Another changeup.
He should be out of the inning. Tejada calls for it. And he is out of the inning. 1 hit, no runs. No errors, 1 left. We've played 4, and it's 3-0 Athletics. As you see, Oakland leads here 3-0 as we go to the 5th. Tomorrow at 4 Eastern, NBC kicks off its coverage of the 2000 Gravity Games. Tune in as amazing athletes take the stage in some outrageous events. This week, watch the high-flying bike dirt finals and 2-man downhill skateboarding. Racing elbow to elbow at 40 miles an hour, standing up on skateboards. That's the Gravity Games tomorrow at 4 Eastern on NBC.
Which contest are you entered into?
Costas and I on those skateboards. Here's a strike called.
And this is a completely different Roger Clemens the last 2 innings than the one that started the first 2 innings of this ball game. He is throwing strikes with his first pitch. He's getting ahead. He's got good movement. He's got good location.
Lardy takes low and away, and the count evens at a ball and a strike. This is one of those deals for the Yankees where you bring your luggage to the ballpark and hope you don't have to. You hope you just take it in and drop it off, and when the game's over, pick it up and take it back home with you. But it may not work out that way.
Because if they can win, they're here on Tuesday against Seattle. So you're right. It's a funny situation you're in when you have to bring your luggage to the ballpark.
And that game would be at 8 o'clock right here on NBC.
And the bad part is bringing it is not a positive thought, you know, because you only need it if you lose. But you have to bring it because they will have to fly out tonight after the ball game, because the game 5 would be in Oakland tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific Coast time.
If you don't bring your luggage, you're very unpopular with your teammates. There's a strikeout. He will start the 5th.
And that is 7 straight hitters retired by Roger Clemens. And again, he's throwing strikes. He's got good location. He's got a good fastball, good movement right there on the outside edge. This is a completely different Roger Clemens than we saw the first 2 innings.
That game tomorrow, by the way, will be at 4:30 Eastern time if it's necessary. Strike called to the big guy.
That's 8 straight hitters that he has started off with a strike, first pitch strike. And he could not throw strikes in the first inning. He walked 2 and gave up the home run to Olmedo Signs.
0-2. That game is at 4:30 Oakland time. Let me correct myself. 4:30 Oakland time if necessary tomorrow. 0-2 the count. Right there. 5 Clemens strikeouts.
And 4 of them have come in the last 7 hitters. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, all of a sudden he's been able to pick his game up, throw strikes, and not only that, he's got the hitters looking for certain pitches. They were looking for that splitter. The last 2 hitters were looking for a splitter, and he's rung them up with a fastball.
Just the opposite of game 1, Joe. He started out great and then faded. Tonight he started out struggling, and now he's gotten much, much better. He's also speeded up his pitching here.
And that's a good point, Skip. When he's throwing well, he works in a kind of a rhythm. But when he's struggling, he takes a lot of time, and he thinks about it, and he doesn't make good pitches. But when he gets in a rhythm, he works quickly.
It's 1-2. Popped him up. Short right field. Who wants it? Soho and O'Neill. It'll be O'Neill. Inning over. 1-2-3. Nothing doing. We've played 5, and Oakland leads New York by the score of 3-0. Three nothing Oakland. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Let's switch for a moment down to the field and Jim Gray. Jim.
All right, thanks, Skip. Well, Derek Jeter trying to rally the troops as he came back into the dugout. He ran up and down clapping and said, "Come on, guys. It's like a funeral out here. Let's start playing some baseball. Let's get them back one at a time. It's not a funeral. Let's go." Skip.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
Well, Barry Zito is making it seem like a funeral because he is dominating these Yankee hitters at this point. But the Yankees are in a situation where Rogers throwing the ball well now, so they need to show Barry Zito that they can hurt him.
One pitch, one out.
But at this point, Barry Zito doesn't feel like the Yankees can put any pressure on him. They can't hurt him, and he should feel that way. That's the confidence of a young pitcher. And if you're the Yankees, you have to break that confidence some kind of way. You don't have to get 3 runs, but you have to get 1 run. You have to show him that you can hurt him. Because the longer this game goes, the more confidence he will gain.
He has pitched a classic to this point. And Tino Martinez stands in. He popped out his first time. Oh, and 1 the count. St. Louis eliminated Atlanta today. The final score is 7-1. They swept them. Right in there again. It's 0-2.
And when a guy starts the curveball almost behind you or right at your back, it's very difficult to stay in there. And watch, I mean, this ball starts behind. See, Tino kind of buckled. The ball starts behind him almost. It's hard to stay there because what if it doesn't break? It means you better read it very quickly.
Martinez is going to get the good housekeeping seal here as he does a little cleanup work. 0-2 the count. David Justice on an interview here in New York the other night said an interesting thing. Said Willie Stargell, when he was the hitting coach in Atlanta and David played there. First the pitch. Line right back where it came from. I don't know if that got a piece of his glove or not. said Stargill convinced him that if you got hit by a pitch, it was only going to hurt for a little bit.
Hey,
So hang in there.
Willie told me that once, too. Well, this is the first, I think, bad pitch that he's made. He had an 0-2 count, and he threw a fastball over the middle of the plate. Tino hits it back through the middle, and he does get a glove on it. See, that pitch is right in the middle of the plate. 0-2, he needed to get up and out of the strike zone or away a little bit more. You can see he barely able to get out of the way.
Yeah, he's very fortunate there. That would have been a little rough. Scott Brocious, the batter, runner at first, and one out. There's the change.
And he has a beautiful change-up. His motion does not give away the change-up at all. He has a great arm speed, and his delivery doesn't change his motion at all.
That line drive back through the middle, and a couple of pitchers being injured by line drive this year. It brings up a point I want to check out with you, Joe. You think there'll come a time when pitchers will wear some kind of protective helmet?
That's a good point. I don't think so, but the hitters are wearing a lot of protective gear on their front side, so you may see that happen with some pitchers.
High fly ball left field, but not enough of it.
And you can see he took just enough off of that pitch, the changeup. He had Brocious out in front, and he actually ended up swinging with one arm.
I can remember, because I'm old, but I can remember when hitters when they first started saying you should wear a helmet, hitters just didn't want to do it. And now they've gotten a lot smarter, and they all do it without complaining.
Yeah, you remember a long time back, because I wasn't one of those. When they said wear a helmet, I put it on. But you're right. I remember Pete Rose fought against it. He had a little liner inside of his baseball cap that he wore, and he did not want to wear a helmet until they forced him to.
Here's Jeter. He's had a good night. That's no surprise. One ball, no strikes. 3-3-0 for Oakland, 0-4-0 for New York.
You know what's interesting? You watch a pitcher go through the lineup once. He pitched a certain way and got them out. Now you go through the lineup a second time. He changed a little bit. Now he's going through this lineup for the third time, and you see the complete difference that he has. He has 3 good pitches, and he's used all 3 at different times.
That's what Howe told us, that if he's got them all 3 working, boy, he is really tough. Well, he does, and he is.
Well, what you do as a hitter is he'd go through the lineup the first time. He got me out with a fastball away. Well, you start looking for that pitch the second time around. Well, what did he do? He goes with the changeup or the curveball. Now he's coming a different way the third time up.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Runner at first and 2 out. 3-0 Oakland is our score.
And he has hit Jeter on the fist twice after starting him with changeups. The last time Jeter got a base hit on that jam shot.
Zito gets ready. Just no slow. 3-2. The runner will go with 2 outs. This is one time, maybe the only time, you can be sure Oakland will send a runner. 3-2 with 2 outs. They walked it. And a tying run comes to the plate in the person of Luis Sojo.
I must say, I don't think that was a very good pitch at the time. And I think that's what you see Jason Giambi coming in to do. I think he's saying you're giving these hitters too much credit right there, throwing a 3-2 changeup with a 3-run lead. And that's what Jason's kind of the leader, and that's why he's talking to both Hernandez and Zito. I think that should have been a fastball. You have the lead. Make them earn it. Don't help them out. We've seen anytime you help the Yankees, they come out on top. So do not help them out. And that's what Jason Giambi's job is. He is the leader of this ball club. And
Soho, excuse me, Joe, he's 3 of 11 in the series.
And that's the first time the Yankees have had a runner at second base in this ball game. So he helped them get in there. Well, see, all of a sudden, I don't like the fact that he's fallen in love with his changeup. There are certain hitters in this lineup, yes, you throw the changeup like Brocious. There's certain hitters you try to keep off balance like Glenn Allen Hill. But you have to go after some of these guys. You've got a good enough fastball that you don't have to live and die with the changeup.
O'Neill is next. The Yankees have left 3 runners on base tonight. They have 2 aboard here. And 2 out. There's your strike. This is a pretty big pitch in the ball game, isn't it?
And there you see the numbers for these teams with runners in scoring position. The Yankees pretty good, 8 for 27. And this is the first time they've had one in scoring position tonight.
That was right on the corner.
And he's made 2 excellent pitches, 2-0, fastball knee high and away. And here's the 2-1 pitch, fastball right on the outside corner and away.
He might have gotten a break on that pitch. 2-2. Good end the inning. And does. So nothing doing the 5th for New York. They mount a threat, but come up empty. At the end of 5, Oakland leads it 3-0. 3-0 Oakland our score. Next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern, NBC Sports presents the 2000 Basketball Hall of Fame induction special. Tune in as 6 basketball legends are honored, including the man who led the Motor City to 2 NBA championships, Piston superstar Isaiah Thomas. Next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern, NBC. We go to the 6th inning here. Eric Chavez is the batter. And he foul tips one at home plate.
And Rogers retired the last 9 Oakland batters, and now this is the 10th hitter. He started 10 straight hitters off with a first pitch strike. And you see what he did the first 13 hitters. 3 hits, 4 bases on balls. Look at that, 9 batters, no bases on balls, and some K's. He looks like the Rocket now.
And he's quickly ahead in the count, 0-2. Chavez is grounded to second. He's been called out on strikes. We are in the 6th inning. Base hit up the middle. Well, that takes care of that. That consecutive hitters retired streak comes to a close. And Miguel Tejada, the batter.
Well, he got that pitch up a little bit. It would look like a change up away or a splitter, and it stayed up. Now watch, it stays up a little bit. It's actually a change up. And Chavez is able to reach out and hit it back through the middle.
Tejada has struck out swinging and flied to left. A little insurance couldn't hurt the Oakland chances here.
I think if you're Art Howe, you're going to have to do something to try to jumpstart this offense.
Little looper into right field. O'Neill comes over, can't get there. It's in the seats. He has no play.
If you just sit and let this thing continue as it is and nothing happening with Oakland, you're just putting a lot of pressure on Barry Zito as the game progresses. You know, you get a man on, I think you need to try to do something to jump-start these guys. They haven't scored since the first inning. Obviously, the Yankees haven't scored at all. But they have not done anything. Rogers throwing the ball well now. So do something to try to disrupt his rhythm. But that's not the way they play, and they've been very successful with what they are doing. So, you know, he may not change, but I think you have to do something to get your hitters back on track.
Chavez stole only 2 bases all year long. Ground ball past the third baseman into the corner. Runner will stop at third in all likelihood, second and third. And nobody out, and Oakland is sitting pretty right now.
Well, that's a good way to jumpstart the offense, to double down the line into the corner. That ball was hit hard, and it stayed down. It looks like a sinker down and in. Tejada gets the barrel of the bat out there. You see, we talked about how far Brocious was off the line last night. He's off the line, but that ball stayed down. It was bouncing, and then it kind of skidded past him. I think if it would have bounced properly, he could have maybe put a glove on it. And Tejada very happy that he's able to contribute. And here's the situation again. They're bringing the infield in with no one out.
And that should make Ben Grieve happy, too.
Yes.
He bats with nobody out, and his team up 3. One ball, no strikes.
One of the theories in baseball is that when you play the infield in against a good hitter, you make a 300 hitter into a 350 hitter, and especially a good hitter like Grieve. But Rogers is going to try to make sure he keeps the ball down and moving away from Grieve as he did there. When you're a hitter in this position, you have to try to get the ball in the air. You try to lift it.
Base hit through the drawn-in infield. 1 run is in. Another runner is going to try. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe, and it's 5-0.
And that's why you do not like to play the infield in. When you play the infield in, any ball that's hit sharply is going into the outfield. If you take a look here, this ball is not hit in the hole, but because they're playing so shallow, you can't move.
9 outs in a row, and suddenly 3 hits in a row.
See right there, that ball is hit right straight away second base, where the second base will be normally playing. But because you're in, the ball gets by you, and O'Neill's throw not in time. And these are 2 very big runs for the Oakland A's. And then all of a sudden, you know, Roger had retired 9 straight hitters, and you look up here and they put 2 runs on the board.
5-0, and still no one out in the inning.
We talked about bringing the infield in. I just want to make sure I illustrate this. Now watch, this ball will be hit right. Well, bad draw, but it'll be hit right here. I mean, and that's right where he plays. See, if he's back, I mean, it's just a routine ground ball. So when you bring the infield in, that's the risk that you take, that a hard hit routine ground ball becomes a base hit.
But down 3 already, they really had no choice.
Yeah, they had no choice. You have to play the infield in. You're already down 3, and Barry Zito doesn't look like he's going to weaken, so you have to do whatever you can do to keep yourself in the ball game.
Here comes Joe Torre. Activity is in the bullpen. Mike Stanton up and close.
I knew this was going to be difficult for Joe because you never knew when Roger was going to run out of gas. You never knew, and he was actually throwing well, but all of a sudden he's given up 2.
So pitching change is upcoming, and we'll be back right after this. Oakland has increased its lead. Tonight on NBC, watch Deadline, the drama starring Oliver Platt as a star journalist who goes beyond the headlines to right the wrongs. That's Deadline, Monday at 9, 8 Central here on NBC. Mike Stanton completes his warm-up tosses. Clemens 5+ innings, 6 hits, 5 runs to this point. The runner at first, of course, his responsibility. Walked 4, struck out 5, threw a home run ball.
Well, Stanton and Nelson were going to have to be tested if they were going to go all the way anyway. So this is a good situation if you're Joe Torre I mean, the best of a bad situation, if you want to look at it that way. At least he will get Stanton in, and he will probably try to make sure Jeff Nelson, gets some innings in as well before this ball game is over.
Runner at first and no one out. It's 5-0. Oakland has out hit New York 6-4. As you know, Oakland faces elimination tonight, but right now that doesn't seem an option.
Now there we go. At least they tried something there. They were trying to bunt the runner over.
But it didn't work out, and it's 0-2.
And it's funny because I said this before, and I'll repeat it again. Art Howe is really a National League type manager, but he's managing in the American League, so he's basically adjusted that way. Art was a teammate of mine for a couple of years in Houston, and he liked to do things, liked to hit and run. He liked to make things happen. I mean, that's the way he liked to play the game. I hit in front of him a lot, and he would put a hit and run on. I mean, that's the way he likes to play, but he's adjusted his theories to what he has here in Oakland. And he says that they really like to swing the bat. They're a patient group, so they will get some walks, but they're just not a group that likes to hit and run and have runners in motion.
Low and outside. 1-2. Bayani just hit a home run, and the Mets beat the Giants 3-2 in 13 innings.
Now that's the big cheer that you hear from half the Bronx crowd. The other half are booing. There you see the final score, 3-2, and Atlanta lost to St. Louis. So
you played with Art Howe. I broadcast when Joe Torre was managing in Atlanta, as you know, Joe. And when he was with the Mets prior to that, as a player, he once hit into 4 double plays in a game.
Man.
And after the game, the writers came to him and asked him about it. And Joe said, well, I couldn't have done it without Felix Millan. Felix Millan was 4 for 4 to give me a shot. 3-2 the count. That ball is ripped, and that's into the corner. Grieve around second, racing for third. They hold him to a single, but problems still plague New York. First and third, and still nobody out.
Well, Mike Stanton gets a fastball down and in. Watch where this pitch is. This is definitely where you do not want to pitch a left-handed hitter, down and in, because for some reason left-handers are always able to get the barrel of the bat out there on that fastball down and in. You will never find a left-handed hitter that can't hit that ball or doesn't like the ball down and in.
Looks like Jeff Tam, if I'm not mistaken, has come out to run. No, it's Ryan Christensen, excuse me. He's pinch running at first base. He'll stay in the game for defensive purposes. Still no one out here. Infield. Plays back at short and second and a third. Of course, you hold the runner on at first.
Well, what Joe's trying to do now is just stay away from a real huge inning.
One ball, no strikes. Further action is going to begin in the New York bullpen.
We talked to Joe Torre yesterday, and he told us that he might send Andy Pettit up ahead to Oakland because he would be the Game 5 starter, and he wouldn't have to fly there after the game tonight. But he's also wondering, as you look at Doc Gooden in the bullpen, that if he flew there and the Yankees were able to win tonight, then you'd have to turn around and fly right back.
I don't know how that ever worked out.
Yeah, well, he did send him.
To short. Run scores. Fourth split. So Hernandez drives in a run with an infield out. It's 6-0. Christensen is retired on the force at second. In the top of the order. And Terrence Long comes to the plate. Runner at first, one out.
When we talked to Art Howe today, he also told me, he said, Joe, we're going to have to fly back to Oakland anyway. We might as well have company, and we might as well make it the New York Yankees. And that was his take on today's ballgame. He said, I'm going anyway.
Throw to first, runner back. 6-0 now. This is the quietest Yankee Stadium has been in 2 nights. Right through that. It's 0-1.
Well, Barry Zito has to be happy that he has 6 runs to work with now, but my feeling is he was confident with 3.
I think he'd have been confident if it was still a shutout.
Right.
He has pitched a heck of a game. And this is where our mutual friend Don Sutton would be saying, just throw him fastballs away, make him hit it to the long part of the park, and you're in business.
Well, you should see him go back to using his fastball in the bottom of the inning because he used a lot of changeups last inning. He has a chance now to go back to his fastball.
A little dribbler toward first. The only players to first. Renner in scoring position with 2 out. Well, I don't know. Long hasn't been tested in center field, but the way he's running, he's very fortunate, and the A's are very fortunate. This is a 6-0 ball game.
Well, you're right. He has not had to chase down any fly balls or even cut off anything in the gap. So they have been fortunate. But again, Barry Zito has been the story. And you may see Art Howe take him out of the ball game. I don't know. You see Giambi talking to him. And Jason is the leader of this ball club, and I like that. He's going to find out if he's okay. And he was the one that went to the mound when Zito threw a 3-2 changeup with a 3-run lead. He's the guy that's going to keep this team under control.
Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Velarde, the 7th man to bat in the inning. Oakland 6, New York nothing.
And you see Terrence Long, he described his home run so well last night to his teammates. He's telling Thad Bosley, hitting instructor, he just can't rotate on his back leg.
Fly ball, well hit center field, but playable. Inning is over. But a big frame for Oakland. They increase the lead to 6-0, and we'll be back at Yankee Stadium. It's 6-0 Oakland. Let's switch down to the field and Jim Gray. Jim.
All right, thanks, Skip. Well, Joe, and you had mentioned how Andy Pettit has gone forward to Oakland, and we checked with the Oakland A's, and the manager, Art Howe, sent Gil Heredia there this morning, so he should be watching the game on television tonight. So the Oakland big right-hander, he's back in Oakland as well. Skip?
Okay, Jim, thanks very much.
Maybe they flew out together on the same
nice.
flight, on the same plane.
Paul O'Neill leads it off.
And this is very important. As you see, Ryan Christensen takes over in right field for Giambi. This inning is very important for Barry Zito, as it was the first inning. He needs to go out, throw strikes, keep this thing under control.
Especially this inning. You build up your lead and get them 1, 2, 3. It's really devastating to the opposition.
Yeah, you cannot relax here, even though you have a 6-run lead. Now you have to pitch the same way you pitched the first 5 innings.
On the corner.
I'll tell you something else I like here, Skip, and that is the way Ramon Hernandez has worked Barry Zito. By that I mean he has had a good rhythm with him. He has not gone too fast. He has not slowed down. He has a good pace. He's not letting Barry stand out there and think about things. And you see the Yankees trying to slow him down. Bernie Williams and a couple of hitters have taken a long time before getting in the batter's box.
Fouled away. It's still 1-2. By the way, Ryan Christensen out of Redlands, California, hit .248 this year. This is really our first look at him. A ball and 2 strikes. Nobody on, nobody out. Look out. That was a curveball that did not bite. 2-2.
Well, you called it correctly. It's a curveball and it breaks late, but that's why it's difficult to stay in there on his curveball, because one breaks sharply. That one didn't break very much at all. Now, if he throws another one and it starts the same spot with a lot of break on it, it's very difficult to stay there. And that's what he does. But
2-2 the count. This is the last playoff game being contested tonight. This afternoon, St. Louis eliminated Atlanta. The Mets just took a 3-2 lead over the Giants. Headed for right field, a diving stop, but no play. Good job by Giambi to get to the ball, but he couldn't keep it in his glove. It'll be a hit, and maybe New York can get something going.
good job by Paul O'Neill. I mean, he's been battling Zito all night, because Zito has been very tough. And you see that breaking ball down and away. Paul just reaches out and kind of pokes it in the right field, but he gets the job done. He finds a hole on the right side. Giambi dives, but he hits off the heel of his glove. And Paul O'Neill has a single.
The Mets they won the game 3-2. They took a 2-1 lead in the series on the Benny Akbayani homer. So the White Sox are out and the Braves are out. Up and in to Bernie Williams. 1 ball, no strikes.
And you can see a conscious effort by Paul O'Neill and Bernie Williams to slow Zito down.
Into center field. Christensen comes across and makes the play. That's unusual, but that is because of the injury to Terrence Long.
Well,
I guess.
Yes, and you have to wonder. Christensen's a very good. He played center field for this ball club before Terrence Long came there, so Christensen can play. You see Long working hard to get there, and Christensen flying across, and Christensen gets there and makes the play.
Normally, it's the center fielder who takes whatever he can get.
And you see Long saying, nice job.
Runner at first with 1 out, and David Justice, the batter. He has singled and struck out. Fouled it back, 0-1.
Well, you have to wonder how long Art will leave Terrence Long out there if he is hobbling like that. Because right now, what you need is defense for the rest of this ball game. You already have enough runs.
There's that nasty curveball. 0-2.
And again, Justice takes his time. He walks away, takes a couple of practice swings. I really believe the Yankees feel like Zito was getting in a rhythm, and they're just trying to take him out of that rhythm. They're trying to slow him down. And that's a good strategy. I think that's smart.
Hot shot, right field, base hit. First and second, 1 out. So all of a sudden, Zito runs into some trouble.
That may be the first ball that's just been smoked, and that was smoked by David Justice. I mean, this is a solid smash to right field. Velarde tries to get over in front of it, but you see dives and the ball bounces over his glove. He didn't really have much chance of coming up with that. That ball was hit like a shot.
Glenn Allen Hild is the batter.
And Rick Peterson is on his way out. He says timeout. And they are going to get some action in the A's bullpen.
Jim Nasir is going to start throwing. Glenn Allen Hild, the batter. 6-0 Oakland, but the Yankees have mounted their first real threat of the night. He's talking more to the catcher than he is to the pitcher. That happens quite often.
Well, this also shows you how important the 3 runs the A's put up in the top of this inning were. They were very important.
Yeah, this place would be up for grabs if it was still a 3-0 game.
Because they would also have the tying run at the plate.
Hill has struck out and popped out, but boy, be careful. He's a good, solid hitter. Let up a beauty, 0-1. 6-7-0 for Oakland. 0-6-0 now for New York. Must have been low. That looked like a pretty good pitch.
The Oakland A's motto there is that they are young and they can play.
Fly ball into right field. Two out.
And I think the motto, it should be, they are young and they can pitch. These young guys, I mean, watching Tim Hudson yesterday and now watching Barry Zito, you get the feeling that the A's are going to be around for a long time when you have young pitchers like that. And they got a couple of guys in the minor leagues that they feel is going to be almost as good.
It's really good for these guys to get to the playoffs, because to the eastern part of the country where most of the population is, you don't know anything about this Oakland team. Well, Seattle for them, huh?
And because of the time difference. A lot of times the scores come in so late you do not know exactly what the teams on the West Coast did that particular night.
0-1 the count.
But it's, I mean, he has so many weapons out there. I mean, he can get you out with a fastball, and he's gotten in a little trouble here. He's gone to 2 curveball first pitch strikes.
Line left field, base hit. A run will score. Runner racing for third is safe. What a break that is. If he gets thrown out of third base in this spot, it would have been devastating to New York. But David got in there and just barely.
Well, it's a high changeup. One of the rare mistakes that he has made. High changeup, and Posada rips it into the corner. Grieve over, cuts it off. Now he makes a strong throw right on target. And David Justice is very lucky that he got the call here. Very close play.
He's even luckier, I think, than you thought he was. There's an old saying in baseball, you don't make the first or third out at third. And the Yankees very nearly did. And here comes Art Howe. And he's going to his bullpen. And we'll be back right after this.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
6-1 Oakland in the bottom of the 6th inning, and here's David Justice trying for third, and he is very lucky. We always talk about baseball being a game of inches. Watch this. He is safe by about 3 inches right there. as the tag is applied by Chavez just a split second late.
If that throw isn't a high hop to third base, he's probably out.
Barry Zito did a great job. He did exactly what Art Howe wanted him to do.
Jim Messier faces the left-hand hitter, Tino Martinez.
And you would wonder why he takes him out against his left-hander, even though Zito had gotten tagged a little bit. The reason is Messier throws a screwball as he threw there, and that makes him very effective against left-handed hitters.
0-1 the count. Down and in, evens at 1-1. 6-1 our score. The A's lead the Yankees.
And this is a big at bat. I mean, if you can get back to a 6-3 ball game or closer with 9 outs to go, you're still in pretty good shape if you're the Yankees and you're the home team. You have some big bats on the bench. There's Jose Canseco. He's starting to loosen up.
Outside with a Scrooge. 2-1. Zito went 5 2/3, 7 hits, 1 run to this point. The runners aboard are his responsibility. 2 walks, 5 strikeouts.
And I'm watching Terrence Long in center field, and he is not very comfortable out there. I just wonder.
Should be out of the inning. A high pop. That's that. And it's 6-1. And we'll return to Yankee Stadium after this word from your local NBC station. Okay, here we go to the 7th inning. It's 6-1 Oakland. The Yankees had a shot, but got only 1 run out of all that. And now time for our March 1st game summary. There's the home run in the first inning, the blast off the bat of Olmedo Signs. And that's really the big hit of the game. And here's Graves' 2-run single with the infield drawn in just a couple of innings ago. And now we sit at 6-1. And Randy Choate comes into the game. He was 0-1 in limited time of the Yankees. Pitched only 17 innings this year. Was 2-0 with a 2.04 at Columbus in AAA baseball. And his job now is to get the Oakland A's out. And he deals his strength.
And he drops down a little bit on the left-handers. That causes you a little problem because you're used to looking for the ball up around the shoulder, and then he drops down. You may not pick it up as quickly.
Fly ball, center field. That'll be easy. 1 away. By the way, Stanton worked an inning, allowed a hit for New York. Here's one, probably the big hero for Oakland in this game, Orlando Signs.
Well, the fact that he hit the home run in the first inning, he is the hero because he gave Barry Zito something to work with. He gave him some margin for error. He gave him time to relax out there on the mound. He went out there with a 3-run lead right away. I'm not sure that he really needed that, but it always helps to have that in your pocket when you walk out to the mound. And Barry Zito did a great job of holding the Yankees through 5 2/3 innings.
It's getting late for the Yankees. We're in the 7th. He broke his bat on that one. Can Soho get there? Indeed he can. 2 out. Eric Chavez will be the batter. In the background, you can hear the dulcet tones of Bob Shepard, the longtime public address man here in New York. Oh, he's seen a lot of great players in his time. 2 out, no one on. The hits are even at 7, but where it counts, Oakland leads 6-1. Two and 0.
The one thing the A's would like to do, Jason Isringhausen is their closer, so they need 6 outs to get to him in the 9th inning. But I'm not so sure that Art would want to do what Joe Torre did last night and bring him in to get 6 outs.
He sidearmed him, but it didn't work out too well. Home run.
No, he called it foul ball.
Oh, man. It's my mistake. I apologize. From this angle, it looks fair, but this angle doesn't count.
Well, the umpire does a good job of going down there. If the ball is always in sight, obviously it's a foul ball. That means it went in front of the pole, and we could always see it there, so the umpire made the right call.
Air carry. Not my first. 2-1 the count. Schultz out of San Antonio, Texas, went to Florida State.
Good fastball right there. I mean, when you drop down and the ball tails back against a left-handed hitter, that's a tough pitch to handle.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Lined the other way, and that's a foul ball.
Before the game, we were talking about the fact that the A's 4, 5, and 6 hitters had not driven in did not have an RBI before the ball game. They are now 4 out of 10 tonight, and Olmedo Saenz hit the 3-run homer in the 1st inning. Got them started. There you see the middle of the order. They were first 3 games 3 for 34.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Out of play. Boy, he comes at you at a bunch of different angles, doesn't he?
And that's what makes it difficult if you're a left-handed hitter, because you're used to picking up the ball from a certain spot, and he changes that spot. It's very tough to pitch it up as quickly as you'd like.
Another 2-2. (6-1) our score. Oakland has the lead.
What a difference a day makes. A lot of the New York papers were saying that the A's were overmatched, that they were afraid, that they were, intimidated by Yankee Stadium. The A's said they were not. And they said they would not be intimidated by the fact that this was their this was a do-or-die game for them.
Ground ball, good play. Hitting over. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. We'll be back right after this.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series is brought to you by Hyundai. Every Hyundai is backed by America's best warranty with 10 years powertrain coverage. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are, "Hey, beer man." And by Sun America, the retirement specialist.
Scott Brocious will lead off the Yankee half of the 7th inning. Yanks trail by 5. Jim Nasir in relief of Barry Zito.
And he made a great pitch to Tino Martinez to get out of a jam in the 6th inning.
2-0. That's the last thing Art Howe wants. A base on balls now. He's come so far. They've led since the first. And a pretty good lead. A 3-run homer by Sines in the first inning. It's now 6-1. 2 balls, 1 strike. Brocious, Jeter, and Soho do. One pitch has popped up. 1 out. Tomorrow night on NBC, from the producers of David Letterman, the show that the critics are raving about, Ed. Watch the series premiere of Ed. Sunday at 8, 7 Central, right here on NBC. That's the show about the bowling lane lawyer. We still don't know what that's about. But we'll find out tomorrow night. Jeter has had a good night. 2 hits and a walk.
The Yankees have 7 base hits in this ball game, but they were scattered by Zito.
Mike Winters with a little hesitation before he called that strike. Ground ball to the right side. They still got a shot at it.
Nice play.
2 out. It goes 4-1.
They make some great plays. That's what I tell you earlier. They'll make that was a very difficult play because Velarde was screened off by Jason Giambi, and looks like Messier's limping.
Well, he sure is. They don't need that.
Well, he actually was limping when he went to the mound. I was watching him when he went out to the mound to warm up. He didn't do it running to first base there. He was limping before. That just exaggerated the situation. Now watch this play. Now, right here, Jason Giambi dives. Velarde screened off, makes the play. Now look how difficult a play he had to make. He had to hit Messier on the move and time it perfectly, and he makes a great play. He's running away from the play. Now watch, he has a throw behind him. Look at that. That is a great play there by Velarde.
And they're going to go to their bullpen. Messier is not going to be able to continue here. So we'll take a break and then be back to talk all this over with you. We'll be back right after this. Mike Magnanti on to pitch for Oakland, and he of course gets as long as he wishes to warm up here because he came on due to an injury as a youngster. Jim Messier suffered from club feet, and one leg is a little bit longer than the other. I don't know if that had anything to do with this injury or not, but we do know that he is out of the ball game, and you see this numbers on Magnanti as he completes his warm-up tosses. The situation, 2 out and no one on in the 7th, and the line on Messier, 1 inning, all zeros.
We talked about the A's being able to make great plays but not being a great defense. We just saw a great play by Randy Velarde. But the play they made here the last trip into New York was the greatest double play I've ever seen. Now watch this. Paul O'Neill hits the ball. A blind throw and a turn by Velarde. I mean, that's the best double play that I've ever seen. Look at that. Without looking, he throws to second base. Tejada does. Velarde comes across the bag perfectly and makes the throw to first base. You can't do it any better than that.
No, you can't. That was terrific.
And we said they make a lot of great plays. And down the stretch, Velarde made some great plays to help them win ball games the last weekend in Oakland. And so did Tejada. They're very good.
Jim Gray is down on the field. Let's go to him. Jim, what do you got?
Well, Skip, back in the locker room, Jim Messere has a patella tendonitis in his left leg, and we just spoke to the trainers from the Oakland A's. It's been an existing condition, and he just pulled it a little bit, and he had to come out of the game. They're hopeful that he will be able to return to the series. Obviously done for tonight, but this is a condition that he has had and has been able to deal with. Just hurt himself running over there to first base, and they expect him to be able to pitch again as soon as possible.
There's a great play again by Velarde. But I noticed when he was warming up before the inning, in between innings, that he was limping. He limped out to the mound, and he threw a couple of pitches, and it was bothering him when he went out there. And that just really running to first base just made it hurt all the more.
We got plenty of time here, so we can tell you the Cardinals eliminated Atlanta today. The final score was 7-1. And the Mets defeated the Giants to take a 2-1 lead in that series, 3-2. And McNanty is about ready to go here, and he will face Soho when it's time. What do you think of this game to this point? Not many surprises, Joe, huh?
Well, I'm not surprised because I saw Barry Zito pitch earlier, and I knew that he would give them a good effort, as did Tim Hudson last night. You just didn't know what they were going to throw back in return. Last night, El Duque pitched a great ball game to be able to beat Tim Hudson. And the Rocket has been in this situation before. The Rocket has won a lot of big games, so he could have come out and did the same thing. He could have come out and beat Barry Zito today. So you had two good matchups yesterday, two good pitchers going yesterday. You had two good pitchers going today.
And now we're ready to go. And Soho stands in. Tonight he has hit into a double play. He has flied to right, and he has hit into a force split. He is 3 out of 12 in the series. One ball, no strikes.
If this score holds up and the A's are able to take the Yankees on that trip with them back to the Bay Area, tomorrow's game will be very interesting.
High pop right side. Will it stay in play? No. It evens the count at a ball and a strike. In case you wonder, if the ball is hit, foul ball is hit in the field of play over near the stands and a fan interferes, that is interference. But if you go into the stands after a ball and you're interfered with, that's just tough luck.
Well, if you go in the stands, they can mug you.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. 2 balls, 1 strike. 2 out, no one on. Two and two. The lefty looks in. Boy, McNanty jumped around all over the place. And after all those warm-up tosses, he blows them away. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. 7 innings have elapsed. It's 6-1 Oakland. We go to the 8th inning. Miguel Tejada will lead it off. 6-1 Oakland. Joe Morgan, Skip Carey with you from Yankee Stadium. I don't care how many times I come to this place. It's a thrill to be here. Anybody who loves baseball has to see a game right here. Upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes.
I remember the first time I came to Yankee Stadium, Skip, I came to the ballpark like at 2 in the afternoon and went out to the monuments. I
bet. Yeah.
headed straight out to see what the monuments were about and what they looked like. I'd only seen them on television.
The first time I came here was with my dad, and I saw a prize fight. I don't remember who was fighting, but being at the ballpark was enough.
Yeah, those are the monuments in left center field. We saw Roger Clemens, who always pats Babe Ruth's monument for good luck before he comes in from the bullpen.
3-0 the count. That's right in there, 3-1.
If you're Art Howe now, you have to start thinking about how you want to finish this game. And with your bullpen, you have to think, do I want to use Jason Isringhausen at all tonight? Or do I want to try to save him? And
that's out of play. Go ahead.
And hope the other relievers can finish this ball game up. So I will have him fresh for the game tomorrow night, so that he would be in a position to use Isringhausen as Joe Torre used Rivera last night, and that's for 2 innings or maybe even more, because it would be the 5th game. So that's a decision that Art Howe has to make. He may have to say, well, I have to get to the 5th game first, so I may want to use Isringhausen as I normally do, and that's to finish the 9th inning. So those are the decisions that he'll have to make, and that's why the managers get paid the big bucks. They have to make those decisions. But Joe Torres told us that he would use Rivera tonight if he needed to. If there was a situation where he could get a save or save the ball game, he could use him for 3 outs probably in his normal rotation. There's Doc Gooden up throwing.
Not a good start. Schilt walks Tejada. Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, NBC presents Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. A win tonight for the Yankees would send them to their 4th ALCS in 5 years. If the A's come back and win this series, they would be in their first ALCS since 1992. Whoever wins this series will host Game 1 of the ALCS Tuesday night at 8 Eastern. Right here on NBC, and Joe will be joined by Bob Costas for that.
And a lot of people may wonder, well, Seattle had a better winning percentage, a better record than the Yankees, but because they were declared the wild card in the Western Division, they cannot have the home field advantage. So because the Yankees won their division, they get the home field over Seattle, although Seattle had a better record.
Ben Grieve has had a good night, 2 hits, a run scored, and 2 RBIs.
Both of these managers are in a very difficult position right now. You have to think about tomorrow, but you're still in today. You're still managing this ball game for today, but you have to think about tomorrow because there's such a short turnaround.
A little bit inside. That didn't miss by much. 2-0. We're about to that point where the Yankee wives are calling the clubhouse and saying, honey, don't forget to bring home some sourdough bread.
Well, they're down to they have 6 outs left, and at this point they're 5 runs down, and obviously they hope that they can keep it at that deficit.
Foul ball. 2-1. That ball was sharply hit. Got to sleep in a hurry tonight if this lead holds up for Oakland, right, Joe?
Well, you better be able to sleep on the airplane because everyone's leaving tonight headed back if this score holds up. I'm sure the Yankees are sitting there and say, we have 6 outs left. We've done this before. We've come from behind before, and that's what we're going to have to do tonight.
A foul the other way evens it at 2-2.
And we all know baseball is a very strange game. I mean, you can start the snowball rolling in your direction and the other team can't stop it. And the Yankees have scored more than 5 runs this season in the last 2 innings. So they're never out of the ball game because they have some good hitters on their ball club.
There goes the runner. Ball 3. He's in there. The young pitcher didn't pay any attention at all.
Well, he never stopped Tejada, and Tejada just had a walking lead and kept going, and there's no chance to get him at second base.
So now a payoff pitch to Grieve. And an insurance run at second with nobody out.
Good pitch.
There's somebody out now. And there's a look at Ryan Christensen. And here comes Joe Torre. He's got Gooden in the bullpen. And he's going to his pen. And we'll be back right after this. Dwight Gooden completes his warm-up tosses here, and he'll face Ryan Christensen with a runner at first and one out.
And I think this is more than just to get the righty-righty matchup for the Yankees. I think this is to let Doc Gooden get his feet wet, because tomorrow everybody's going to be available if they play a Game 5. And I think Joe Torre is just trying to make sure, because Dwight has not pitched in the series. He's trying to get him some time in the series.
Boy, what a pitcher he was in his youth.
Yes, he was. A great pitcher across town for the New York Mets.
6-7-0 for Oakland, 1-7-0 for New York. Schultz went an inning and a third, allowed no hits, no runs to this part, though the runner at second is his responsibility. He walked one and struck one out. And we're about ready to go. Christensen will stand in there. Looking ahead to the bottom half of the inning. O'Neill, Williams, and Justice, the scheduled hitters for the Yankees, the heart of their order.
Well, they found space for a few more people tonight.
Yeah, 56,915.
Last night there were 56,606.
Strike call. Gooden starts out with a strike. One and one the count. Still 6-1 Oakland. Many of the fans have headed for home here, Joe. That's surprising to me.
Well, a little surprising as well, but I mean, a lot of them have headed home. Doc Gooden really pitched well for the Yankees this year, in that, especially when he was in long relief. He had to start a few times, and he did not do as well as a starter, but he pitched well in relief.
I figured out where many of those people are going. They have tickets for Saturday Night Live. Which comes up after the late local news. Line drive, right field base hit. Runner around third. He will score, and that will make it 7-1. And that run is charged to Schultz. And the Yankees are singing the blues. They're singing, all my bags are packed, I'm ready to go, but they're not happy about it.
No, they're not happy. This is a slider from Doc, but it stays up, and good job of hitting by Christensen. He just goes the other way with it. He gets a base hit, and he drives in the 7th run of the ball game. See Art Howe, he'll take all that he can get tonight.
Ramon Hernandez is the batter. We asked Art Howe before the game if I think you asked him if his plane was going to stop in Kansas on the way back, and he said, no, that's not going to happen.
Coming to New York, they didn't even get to work out because the flight, had to go to Kansas to refuel, and then the weather delayed, so forth and so on. They didn't get in till really late, and they didn't get a chance to work out before this series started. But I think that was a blessing because they didn't have to deal with all the media and everything that goes along with it. And Art Howe said he had talked to him before the game about think before you make statements here in New York, because it can be blown out of, can be blown up and made into a bulletin board material.
Well, there are so many media outlets with all the radio stations, television stations, newspapers more than any place else in the country. And everybody's looking for a scoop.
And I tell you another thing that's telling to me about the A's tonight as we look at their bench. You don't see a lot of jumping up and down, a lot of excitement. They expected to win this ball game. And I think that's important going into Game 5. I mean, they expected to win. You don't see them all celebrating even on base hits or anything. They realize that they have one more game to go if they're able to hold on to this lead. And they expected to win coming into this ball game tonight.
A ball and 2 strikes. Almost hit him. 2-2. Runner at first, 1 out, a run in. Oakland has out-hit the Yankees 8-7. Things have really slowed down here. Look out. That got him. Got him in the left hand or arm. And the trainer comes out to take a look at Ramon Hernandez.
And Skip, while we have a little break here, I want to send my condolences to the Enos Cabell family. Enos Sr. passed away, and he was a real big baseball fan. And Enos Cabell, one of my teammates.
Sure.
I want to send our condolences to his family.
And I join you on that.
Let's take a look. He almost hit him a couple of pitches earlier, as you mentioned, but this is a fastball that tails in, and he can't get out of the way, and it looked like it hit him on the back of the hand. And it did. It hit him right on the back of his left hand.
Here's Terrence Long. Long 0 for 3 with a walk on the night. Tell you what, with all the fancy medical equipment that these big league ball clubs have now, Long will have something to help his leg.
They have those stems that they help stimulate the flow of blood through the area where you're hurting. They'll have it on the plane all night long going back.
1-1.
And they have the ice machines for injuries like Hernandez has received, keep it from swelling.
One on one, the count.
But he's a catcher. Catchers are used to getting hit, used to taking foul tips.
Yeah, you start hurting in March, and if you get to the playoffs, it's October before you quit. 1-1, 1 and 2 make it, excuse me. Posada out to give the sign. The runners lead. Broken bat grounder up the middle. That should be a double play. Can't run at all. 4-6-3 and out, and he wisely didn't strain trying to run it out there. A run scores on one hit, bottom of the 8th, and it's now 7-1. Okay, here's the deal. If this game stays the way it is and Oakland comes out the winner, you see what's going to happen tomorrow. San Francisco at the Mets here at 4 o'clock Eastern time. And the Yankees will be at Oakland at 7:30. Is that Pacific time?
Eastern.
7:30 Eastern time.
Yeah, Eastern time.
So that's 4:30 out there. Bo Porter is now in right field. Christensen moves to left. And the guy who probably needs help the most stays in center. Long. I mean, he's a fine outfielder, but he's not a fine outfielder tonight because of his leg broke. O'Neill leads off.
The fact that it's a 4:30 game local time in Oakland tomorrow, that's really a short turnaround because they're not going to be able to get there until probably, let's see, if they leave 1 o'clock, that means it's 10 o'clock. They won't get there till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Ooh. O'Neill stands in there. Mike Magnanti goes to work and deals a strike. It's 0-1.
And like all good managers, Art Howe is looking for an edge. He said if we can get it to game 5, we have younger players. It's not as hard on them flying across country as it is the older players on the Yankees.
There's a drive, deep right field. Porter into the corner. And he makes the play. 1 out. That's out of our line of sight. And there's a time where having the umpire down the right field line was helpful.
Well, we get a look at it from this angle. As you see Porter go into the corner, he makes the catch. Actually, it's a fair ball. And he makes the catch.
Bernie Williams is the batter. Let's go to Jim Gray down on the field. Jim.
All right, Skip, thank you. I just spoke to the head trainer for the Oakland A's, Larry Davis, and he's going to have a busy flight going back tonight. Terrence Long, he said, just wants to stay in the ball game, feeling pretty good, but they're going to compress his leg in ice, his knee, throughout the entire flight. They'll put it on him for about an hour, then they'll take it off, and then they'll put it on. He said over the 5-hour trip, they'll probably have a compressor on for about 3 hours. They expect that he'll be okay and fine for tomorrow should the score hold up. Ramon Hernandez said he just got nicked on his left hand, his catching hand. He says he's used to it. He's gotten hit by a bat there a couple times this year and got hit by the ball when he's been at bat a couple of times. He says he's just going to have to live with it. Fortunately, he said it's not his throwing hand. He should be fine as well for tomorrow. And Jim Messier is back right now getting some treatment with that tendonitis in his patella tendon, and they expect that he'll be able to go too. But he said, as for me, I hope all the guys get a lot of sleep. But Larry Davis said, I don't expect much sleep at all. Jim?
Okay, thanks.
I'm trying to figure out how Terrence Long is going to get any sleep with ice on his leg and back and forth.
He'll be watching the movie. 0-2 the count. (7-1) Oakland, our score. Well hit in the center field, but playable. 2 out. He really hasn't been challenged tonight at all.
That's actually, I think, the first fly ball that he has caught.
Yeah,
that ball game.
That's right. Somebody took one away from him.
Yeah.
Christensen took one away from him earlier. David Justice hits with 2 out, nobody on. Lazy fly. And that's that. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing in the 8th. We go to the 9th. Oakland is freezing. It's 7-1.
By Valvoline Max Life, the first motor oil formulated for higher mileage engines. By Nextel, how business gets done. Call 1-800-NEXTEL-9. By Bristol-Myers Squibb, makers of Provocol. And by the new Visa Smart Card with chip technology. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Count is 1 ball, no strikes on Randy Velarde as we mosey on to the 9th inning.
And the Yankees are 2-time defending world champions, and it looks like they're going to be facing an elimination game tomorrow. I don't think they've had an elimination game in the last few years. I think in 1995 they did.
That's a double. And that's the way the 9th inning starts. By the way, don't forget, after your late local news, the debut of Saturday Night Live will come your way. Rob Lowe, the guest host.
And let me correct myself, Skip. In 1997, they faced the Cleveland Indians in Game 5, and they lost. I think I'm going to have to correct myself again. I don't think that's correct either.
Jason Giambi is 0 for 2 with a couple of walks. He has scored a run. Jose Canseco looks unhappy with the, not happy that he hasn't gotten to play, but happy that his team is in great shape here. Tell you what, those Game 5s or Game 7s, those are the ones it's all about.
Yeah, I had said before that I felt like the division series should also be 7 games. You know, you play a lot of games and then you come to the end and you go 3 out of 5. I've changed my mind. I think I like 3 out of 5 because you cut to the chase real fast. You know, after the first game, everything gets very serious.
If you go to 4 out of 7, then you got to do something because you don't want to play in November.
No.
I don't think.
Well, you'd have to cut the season shorter.
And then the players,
the regular season,
doesn't want that. Three balls and a strike.
It was 1997, as I said, that the Yankees played the Cleveland Indians in a Game 5. Andy Pettitte pitched against Jarrett Wright, and the Indians beat the Yankees 4-3 with Wright outdueling Andy Pettitte that night. So that was 1997. They did have a Game 5, and the fact that they're the 2-time defending world champions will be a little rough tomorrow. And I think it's going to be difficult because you're on the road, for one thing, and the fact that this is such a short turnaround.
And don't forget it, if the weather's good in Oakland, and it probably will be, tough to play the outfield for both sides in that bright sun that time of day.
Well, you're right. I think the pitchers will definitely have an advantage the first few innings of that ball game.
3-2 the count here. Runner at second, no one out. Three balls, 2 strikes. So 2 are on with no one out. Gooden issues his first walk. And here's the guy that got things off on the right foot if you're an Oakland fan. Olmedo Signs hit a vicious home run into the left field seats in the first with a couple runners aboard and got him off and winging. First and second, no one out. Will he bunt? Absolutely not. One ball, no strikes. Gil Heredia against Andy Pettit tomorrow in Oakland, barring a huge Yankee comeback.
And the thing to remember there is that Andy Pettit, like Roger Clemens tonight, will be going on 3 days rest.
But that will be a game. Our old friend Dave Bristol, who used to manage in the National League, used to tell Peter Holstaff will pitch that game.
Well, Gil Heredia will have had his complete rest, so he will be ready as far as the A's are concerned.
Denny Nagel will be ready early for New York. He hasn't pitched.
And you also have David Cohn in the Yankee bullpen. So you're right. If either team runs into any trouble early, they have to make a change right away. You can't afford to wait and fall behind either team in Game 5.
A ball and 2 strikes the count. Earlier, St. Louis eliminated Atlanta, and the Mets took a 2-1 series lead. In 13 innings, they beat the Giants 3-2. One and 2 the count. There's no one out. That hit him. And he's hurting. The trainer and Art Howe, they're in a hurry. That loads the bases, but more important, an outstanding offensive player for Oakland is hurt.
And especially with the fact that Andy Pettit will start the game tomorrow, he's the guy that they need.
That's the second batter that Gooden has hit. He's coming out.
Well, it sounded like it got him pretty good. Like it hit him solidly on his right arm. Now they're going to go up and put some ice on it right on his arm right away, try to keep it from swelling. You see him pointing to the spot. It's above the right wrist. But he's basically saying he thinks he's okay. He's shaking hands with it anyway.
Hyatt is the pinch runner at first base. So the bases are full as Adam Hyatt checks into the game. There's still no one out, and here's Eric Chavez. Infield has to come in. 1 ball, no strikes, and Gooden is struggling here big time.
Yes, he is. He's hit 2 batters. He's walked a couple of hitters, and he doesn't seem like he's sharp at all tonight.
Hot foul backing out of play, but this might be one of those where you take one for the team.
Yeah, I don't think Joe wants to use too many people out of the bullpen and not have them ready for him to use tomorrow night.
What's the difference if you get beat 7-1 or 15-1? It's the theory. Now David Cohn's going to get up. So my idea on that strategy, not so hot either.
Well, I think he's just getting them up, but I don't think he wants to use them, or will probably.
2-1 the count. Let's go to Jim Gray. Jim.
All right, Skip. Larry Davis, the trainer of the A's, walked over and says he feels like he's working for the Raiders, like this is a football team. He says Signs took a shot on the right forearm. He's got a bruise. They'll put some ice on it. They'll ice it on the plane, and they expect he'll be fine for tomorrow. Skip.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Line down the right field line. That is a fair ball. 1 in, 2 in. They're going to hold the other runner at third, and it's 9-1. And David Cohn, or rather, Doc Gooden is getting roughed up here big time. A 2-run double.
Well, Chavez takes this fastball in. Well, a little slider actually takes it and just rips it down the right field line into the corner. And by the time Paul O'Neill gets it back in, 2 runs are scored, and the A's have an 8-run lead here in the 8th inning.
And you and I and Jim are just about the last people left in Yankee Stadium.
They're clearing out quickly, that's for sure.
Still nobody out in the inning, and the infield is back. That's sort of a consolation gesture right there. Well, I've just checked with NBC headquarters, and if you promise to patronize our sponsors, you have our official permission to walk the dog and come back for Saturday Night Live after your late local news. A ball and 2 strikes. Another run scores. It's 10-1, but we finally get him out here. A derisive cheer. Ten to 1 the score.
Well, Seattle is glad that there's going to be a game 5, because they will have to use Andy Pettitte tomorrow, who has been their best pitcher in the postseason other than Orlando Hernandez. And if Oakland wins, they're using their staff. So, and they're going to go after this long flight. Whoever ends up winning the game tomorrow, if the Yankees win, they'll have to take the long flight back here to start the series against Seattle. The A's will not have to travel, so Seattle is just sitting there waiting. And I don't think they mind that there will be a game 5.
Bo Porter is the batter. A little dribbler will score another run. And it's an infield hit. And Christensen will hit. This is getting pretty ugly. It's 11-1. Christensen got a base hit on his only trip to the plate. 11-0 for Oakland, 1-7-0 for the Yankees.
Well, you have to give the Oakland A's a lot of credit. They came into Yankee Stadium and they looked the Yankees right in the eyes, and they've been able to split this series, and they get a chance to go back home for the deciding game.
They got it the way they want it now. We don't know what the fates hold, but they've got their shot. They're home.
And that's all you can ask for. As a team like Oakland, a young team, all you want is a shot.
2 out. And Ramon Hernandez, the batter.
And we talked about this at the beginning of the series, the fact that they lost the home field advantage by losing so many games down the stretch in September, meaning the Yankees, after they clinched their division. And I really felt that this would hurt them, and I feel that it hurt the Atlanta Braves the same way. They lost the home field advantage, and the teams have taken advantage of it so far.
One and one the count.
And remember, in the 5-game series, I really believe the home field advantage is far more important than a 7-game series. Because at least in a 7-game series, you have the middle 3 games at your place.
Fly ball foul. Two and two the count. It's 11-1 Oakland.
Quite a contrast from the 56,915 that was here at the start of this ball game.
Ground ball to the right side. Inning over. We'll return to Yankee Stadium after this word from your local NBC station. Bottom of the ninth, you see the score. A couple of changes for Oakland. Frank Menachino is now at second base. And the veteran Doug Jones comes on to pitch. Pretty good year for him.
A very good year. Everybody on this Oakland A's team really had pretty good years, Skip. They all contributed a lot to the A's getting here to the ALDS.
Yeah, that's why they're here. Boy, Doug Jones, what a career he's had. He pitches for a while in the American League, and then they figure him out. Then he goes to the National League for a decade, and they figure him out. And then it's back to the American League, and all those guys are gone.
Yeah, all the new guys that have not hit against him.
Glenn Allen Hill leads it off. And takes a strike. There's going to be a game 5 in Oakland. Oh and 2.
I mean, the Yankees are taking a 11-1 beating here, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, if they win the game tomorrow, everything's forgiven. So they just have to go out and focus on tomorrow's game.
Everybody get ready to fall on your swords tomorrow, because that's what it's all about. Doug Jones has been at this in pro ball since 1978. There's one of them in the ninth. Tonight's Chevrolet Most Valuable Player is Oakland starter Barry Zito. The young man did a heck of a job.
Well, he did do a great job because he kept the Yankees under control until the A's were able to put this game out of reach. They got him 3 in the first right away, but he shut the Yankees down for 5 2/3 innings.
One out in the ninth. There's a base hit.
There's Louis Polonia. He pinch hit for Posada.
Another former Brave. Polonia strokes one into right center. Here's Tino Martinez. I know one reason beside the score that so many people have left. It's gotten cold.
Yeah, it is getting cool. But this is good baseball weather. This tells you that it's close to World Series time. It's close to we're into the postseason.
I wish there was a way that this time of year is when the World Series. I know they can't do it anymore, but this is when it should be played.
Correct.
High fly ball on the infield. That's 2 out. Martinez is retired. And it's Scott Brocious who comes to the plate.
Well, the one thing I think both teams are pretty set bullpen-wise and everything else for tomorrow. Rivera pitched 2 innings yesterday. He will not pitch today, so he will be ready to go for Joe Torre tomorrow. Jason Isringhausen hasn't pitched in a couple of days, so he's ready. So everybody will be armed and ready to go in the bullpens.
We're going to have to go in a hurry, Joe, so I'll ask you now, who's going to win tomorrow?
Oh, you don't ask me that. I tell you, it's going to be very difficult because whoever focuses better at the start of tomorrow's ball game, and because it's going to be difficult to travel all night to get there and then to be able to pick yourself up, and especially for the Yankees because, you know, they had a chance to close it out here and not have to go back. They lose this ball game. They're going to have to just push this aside and refocus tomorrow. And when they get up, wake up on Pacific Coast time, they're just going to have to refocus, go out there and say, we've got to do something right away. And I think that's going to be the key. And for the A's, the same thing. Whoever can get off to a good start tomorrow, they're going to have to focus right away and get off to a good start.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Because we know it's going to be difficult to see the ball at the game time. Gil Heredia will be on the mound for the A's. That will help him. Andy Pettit will be on the mound for the Yankees. It'll help him. So they're not going to be able to see the ball at the beginning. So you're going to have to really focus and work hard.
Thanks for your help, my friend.
My pleasure. Enjoyed it.
11-1 Oakland. That's your final score. And so for Joe Morgan and Jim Gray, this is Skip Carey saying so long from Yankee Stadium, where the A's have tied the series 2-2 as they win tonight 11-1. Don't forget Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, NBC presents Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Coming up next, following your late local news, it's the season premiere of Saturday Night Live with guest host Rob Lowe and the music of Eminem. That's it from Yankee Stadium. Bob Costas will be back when NBC gets to work again. So long, everybody.